What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Verdependent podcast, where we depend on the Verde and Black for our everyday vibes. This week, we're reviewing the loss in Seattle, looking at the latest info on Austin FC player salaries, and previewing both our home league matchup against LAFC and road Open Cup game against San Jose Earthquakes, before closing out the episode with a stoppage time rundown of the hottest Austin FC, MLS, and World Footy storylines of the past week. I'm Paul Fletes.
And I'm Logan Bartlett.
And man, it's been a minute, huh? Like a couple of weeks off?
Been a minute. You nailed that, bro.
Dude, I felt good reading that.
You nailed it. I was like, damn, we're back.
Yeah, dude, that's how it is, man. How are you feeling? I know that you had a little bit of a wisdom teeth extraction situation happen.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's been 2 weeks to the day that I got the surgery. So no longer on pain medication, back at work, eating kind of normal food.
Semi-solids?
Yeah, nothing crunchy or anything, but I ate like enchiladas last night, Like,
there you go.
We're back. Enough.
Yeah.
Still feels weird, but it is what it is. So
I feel that, man. Well, and just to confirm, sorry, you said you are not on pain meds, so we're not going to get any kind of unhinged hydrocodone takes.
You're going to get unhinged takes, but they're going to be fully sober, as they normally are. So.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Well, why don't you go ahead and kick it off with this week's preheated take?
Can do, man.
Yeah.
So my preheated take is that the all-time goals total in the Austin versus San Jose head-to-head will eclipse 40 next week during the Open Cup match.
Oh, God.
In all matchups, 36 combined goals have been scored between the two teams. So I think we'll see a game where both teams combine for 4 or more goals.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And almost every game that we've played against each other has been that. I think there's 3 instances where we haven't, and we've played each other 8 times.
Yeah.
At least. So.
That's right. Yeah, there have been goals between the two.
Yeah. Yep. What about yours?
Man. Yeah. I kept it pretty simple, pretty optimistic here. I've got a DP recording a goal involvement of some sort, whether that's an assist or goal, against LAFC this Saturday. Mm-hmm. I just think, at home, they want to show back, that Seattle was a little bit of a fluke, and I think LAFC are kind of in this weird position where we'll talk about it more later. But I get the sense that Brandon is probably going to pop off. I feel like Bukhari will get back in the mix. But
hope so.
Yeah.
All that money they're making, damn.
No, bro, for real. But before we talk about money, let's talk about that Seattle game. Let's jump into the first half here. Austin was in position to make it 3 league wins in a row since March, but Seattle had just finished boxing during Club World Cup with the likes of Botafogo, Paris Saint-Germain, and Atletico Madrid. So naturally, our guys were looking a little bit like minnows after that Club World Cup exit.
Yep.
And, I don't want to take too long on this, Lobar, but, I feel like this performance is sandwiched between 2 multi-goal wins earlier in the month of June, and then also we've got a little bit of a lighter schedule coming up, minus that Open Cup clash against San Jose. So I know that you watched the game in its entirety on Saturday night. I was responsible Austin FC fan and at a concert instead. So what did you take away from that game against Seattle?
Yeah, when you were at the concert, I sent you one text. Must have been at halftime at this point because it was an hour after kickoff, and I said, "Rough game to start, bro. Goddamn, calling this team disjointed would be a compliment."
That's right. I do remember looking at that and then quickly.
That was my first half review. And I think, to be honest, I don't remember much because it was a pretty poor outing. We had a almost negligent XG. We did next to nothing according to MLS. I think other people said we got more. But not much was created in terms of chances, especially in the first half. We had some moments here or there where we could have possibly done something, but there was just no chance creation in the lineup as we saw it. No Uzuni, no Bukhari to start.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of forgot O'Brien was on the field. Same with Gallagher, to be honest. They were kind of just out there doing cardio.
Tough.
Which is cool, I guess. So, it's always a tough game when you're playing away at Seattle. I'm sure everyone and their mother that follows this league would say that. And so it's, that's not a hot take or anything, but it just is fact. And they still have a good run of form, right? They got to play in the Club World Cup. There's a lot of momentum around the team and the fan base, even getting swept in the competition. It's just like they got to be on that stage and host. And yeah, man, like they look like it. They look like they haven't stopped playing. And they've had the opportunity to keep gelling and whatnot. So, tough game. We looked pretty poor. We looked like we took 2 weeks off and went on vacation.
Yeah.
Came back to work like, wait, how do we do this? I
Mm-hmm.
think everybody can relate to that in some way. When you get some time off, you come back to work, you have to remember how to do your job a little bit. Definitely looked like that for these guys. So I hope, all we can do is hope they take something away from this match of like what not to do and do better moving forward. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I took away from it.
Yeah, no, I mean, looking at the rewatch, so I first started with the highlights and then decided to dive into the whole rewatch myself on Sunday. But yeah, man, I think what's frustrating for me is that this team is so, bipolar in the sense of coming out from a break. You never know how this team is going to perform. Sometimes it's coming back and we're good. I'll never forget coming back from Leagues Cup, that break right before, and then entering Leagues Cup last season. Was that last season or the season before where we knocked out those two Liga MX sides?
That was last year.
Yeah. And it was one of those things, man, where I'm like, oh gosh, already getting the feeling it's not going to be, our best 11, so to speak. Seeing the Azuni hammy
injury. Yeah.
Injury. Thank you, hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, tough, man. He's already kind of a not factor right now as it is, but I don't think that bodes well for the team moving forward in the near future. But all that to say is, I felt like the second half was a little bit better when we brought Azuni on. It was so interesting to also see like Seattle obviously rotated and was still able to, deliver a 2-0 performance at home.
Yeah.
But
It's a good point. Man. Two guys that haven't scored much and needed a good game in, what's his name?
Musovski and Ferreira.
Ferreira and obviously Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we had games like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for real, man. Well, looking at attackers, though, man, and specifically like the wingers that we have available for this team, I wanted to kind of get your takes on this. But looking at that game specifically, you mentioned, flat performances from Gallagher and from Obrian, but also looking at, the season's work so far from our wingers. How do you feel about the current situation that we have for attackers in that position, man?
No, it's a good question, and I'll preface this by saying, as I finished answering your first prompt, I looked ahead to what was next and went, oh, damn, my bad, bro, because I know the feeling of, like, laying out a bunch of questions and then, like, setting you up, and then you answer both the next question as well, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh, you're good, man. No, you're good.
I'm fully improvising this right now. I got from work to this call, so I don't know what's next. This is fun. No, I can expand more on that, though, and this will feed into my points on the one of the points on the player salaries piece too, but I think it's going to be, I don't know. I don't know what the play style is, to be honest, right? Like in years past, we could see, all right, wingers are going to get the ball and they're expected to cross it in to Trucy or Maxi or Danny Houston, whoever it was, right? Like find the target man, get the ball to them. That's what wingers do. And it seems like, I don't know, we gave them space, we gave them kind of a support in the overlapping fullbacks to where they would create a mismatch maybe and give people space to operate and get crosses in with little to no effort. At least in my memory, that's what it was. Then we bring in a guy like Bukhari, who is very skilled on the ball, who wants to take players on one-on-one or take people on one-on-three and create space and then get the ball in that way, right?
Yep.
So it seems like Bukhari, he has a clear role. Give him the ball, let him take a guy on until he gets to where he wants to get, sling a cross in, which is counter to what we saw, in my opinion, over the grand majority of the Wolf era, where we gave guys space and speed and had them sling crosses in early or get all the way to the byline, just kind of running, head down, slinging it.
Come back in, yeah.
So outside of Bukhari, who has a clear role on this team, I just don't know what wingers are supposed to do on this in this system. Like, one, there hasn't been cohesiveness and consistency, right? Obrian started. Now we're seeing Gallagher start, who started the season as a right back. We have Robert Taylor in, who hasn't gotten much run yet, or much consistent run at this point. Uzuni's played all over the pitch, it seems. Right wing, left wing, second striker. He's not finding his home, so there's like no clear role of who we're building around outside of Bukhari. So I just don't really know what we're looking for and what Nico wants these guys to do. I think it's just confusing. I mean, we've seen a bunch of different lineups too, where players are asked to fill different space on the field. That seems to be more focused around guys like Bidu and Dessler getting into inverted positions, and Uzuni and Vasquez packing the box. And it's like, are the wingers just a distraction? Guys that aren't named Bukhari, of course. Because what are they supposed to do in that moment, right? They're kind of just sitting there when Bidu has the ball on the left and he's crossing it into the box. Well, Gallagher's just standing ahead of him, like, all right, cool. Like he's kind of just ahead of him to make a run forward to create that space for him. All I like to say is, right, I can keep naming examples of where I just don't know what a winger's supposed to do other than just distract a defender, so we can send a cross in or something. So they are underperforming, our wingers. Obrian, Gallagher, Taylor, Uzuni, whoever else.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that's necessarily all on them. I think they're being told to do something completely different every game outside of Bukhari, and they're just trying to adapt and not mess up, So all that to say is it's interesting, and I think it definitely speaks to the offensive struggles we've had, where on any given night, one or two of our attackers, depending on if Bukhari's starting or not, in the wingers, are kind of lost and don't really know how they're supposed to contribute and don't get consistent opportunity to create or attack or do something, especially when our fullbacks have the ball so much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, where do they fit in? So that's kind of my take. I just don't know where our attackers fit in, our wingers fit into this attack, and clearly the team doesn't either because we have 15 goals on the year. So, we're just kind of stuck.
No, I think that's something that, I can only agree to most of that because it echoes a lot of what I had to say. Just looking at numbers, man, I mean, it's almost just embarrassing just how little, just from pure goal output. I mean, outside of Brandon and Biru, it's like there are no other multiple, goal scorers this season so far. And so, yeah, man, that's hard. And especially as we see these salaries coming out, and we're looking at how much we brought Robert Taylor in for, and how much like Obi's getting paid. And it's just like, dang, man, what I really want to see, and we'll talk about this at halftime when we talk about the salaries, is I'm looking at our only TAM player in Julio Cascante, who is now kind of this third string CB rotational, defensive piece. It's like, that piece needs, that salary position, that slot, that TAM player needs to go to an attacking player, that needs to go to a productive winger that can help generate some kind of output for this team, in my opinion. And so I know that he's the shadow striker and, has served that role in the early seasons of this club's history. But no, for real, we gotta figure that out. And I think to your point about, oftentimes the winger looking a little bit lost or unsure on how to execute the game plan, it's tricky, man. And I think that has a lot to do with the commitment to the team defense and like specifically to like the transition defense, which was a struggle under Josh Wolf, right? But Nico seems to have bought the guys into, if we're not attacking, we're all tracking back and we're defending and we're doing some kind of recovery in that sense. And then, like you were saying, we're going to try and find Buka and figure it out there. But yeah, I think it's interesting. And the way that it rolls out with, constant pest and thorn in our side with Ferreira, opening the scoring against us. I didn't track how many goals he has now total against Austin, but he was up there in that list of just constant goal scorers. So it's whatever, man. And we've been talking about salaries now, kind of inadvertently, but I guess we should go ahead and get into that halftime discussion now. Yeah.
Yep, let's do it.
Dope. Well, like I mentioned before, hardly news at this point, but worth the conversation. The MLS Players Association released their 2025 Spring-Summer Salary Guides, which contain annual base salaries and guaranteed compensation data as of May 23rd of this year. I'm viewing this info online using the North End Podcast lovely sheet, which I would encourage listeners to check out if you wish to also engage in, what the fuck is Austin spending so much money on, insert your player's name here. Talk with us. But there's a lot that we're going to dive into, but to keep things moving along, we'll keep ourselves to just 2 talking points each. And if you, listener, want to share your takes, by all means, you can always keep the chatter going online. So, Lobar, why don't you go ahead and kick it off with your 2 points, my guy?
Yep. So I'll start just because it's the last thing we talked about in the first half. I'll start with the wingers, actually, because you pointed out 2 guys that I wanted to talk a little bit more about. That's Robert Taylor and Hader Obrian. Combined, they're making like over $1.1 million, the 2 of them. And, when Bakari's not starting, sure, one of them gets some run. Obrian usually starts, but they're making that much money, and John Gallagher is starting over them consistently, right? Yeah. Again, maybe more so to Robert Taylor, because Obrian is getting those starts here and there when Buka's not playing, but that's its own problem itself, right? When Buka's not playing, and still it's John Gallagher starting.
At 375, right?
Yes, exactly, right.
Yeah.
Not including John's 375K, not including CJ and Jimmy. In the senior roster only, we're spending over $4.8 million on wingers. And I did include Uzuni in that just because he has filled that role on the left wing.
Sure.
But that can be its own case study, its own problem. Even that, without Uzuni, we're spending $2.5 million on 3 guys, one of which is always getting looked over by John Gallagher. I think that's more of a testament to John Gallagher and his fit in this offense and just on the team and the greater work that he's done for this club. But it's still a problem when we're spending that much money. And so, Paul, I know when we were planning this in advance, I was like, I'm not going to go look through other teams' rosters to see if those numbers were normal for guys for a second and third or fourth winger.
But you did it.
I did do a quick skim through maybe 5 or 6 clubs,
okay,
and we're definitely an outlier. Most clubs have a DP level guy on the wing, and then they might have one dude making $500K, and then it's a bunch of 80Ks, and that's a gross understatement of what the league is by and large. But not looking at Toronto or any of those teams, and that's different now. But
yeah,
it's definitely a lot of money to spend on when we have 2 guys that are DPs that probably play the wing on most nights or some form of it, and then 2 other dudes that aren't getting run who are making $600K, $500K.
Yeah,
that's not good. So
yeah, good point.
Yeah. If you don't have anything else to say on that, I'll move over to the second point, which can definitely be more of a conversation. But we kind of
no. Go ahead and take that second point.
So the second piece I thought stood out a lot, and we might talk a little bit more about this, is Brandon Vasquez, right? And how he's the clear top earner on this club. In fact, he's making almost as much as both other DPs combined with this 3.5 and some change million salary. And so I think you look at that contract, you look at how much money he's making, 3.5 million. We can just assume it's that much every year throughout his contract. We have him signed on through 2029, right, with the team option in that last year. But I think that provides a glimpse of what Roto's thinking for this team through the end of the decade, right? We're building this team around Brandon Vasquez through 2029. We could sell him, we can make money off him, all that may happen. But when we sign him, we sign him for 5 years, right? At that amount of money. So we have all the faith in him or the leadership group does have the faith in him to be our guy, be the number 1 for this club, and be one of the premier strikers in this league. And yet, we have Nico Estevez being the coach, not getting him anything to eat, anything to feed off of,
Right.
And so it's interesting. It provides a glimpse in terms of roster build what Roto wants, but it's makes me think that Nico might not be the long-term guy here.
Yeah.
Or it's just not gelling how they thought it would, or who knows. But it's definitely surprising. So I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent analysis there, dude, because Yeah, it does definitely rub up against that reality, which is you've got Brandon on a big money long-term deal. You have a coach who is not known for his, offensive, strategies. And we're seeing it again. The theme this entire episode so far has been, what the hell are the wingers up to? And if that's not, that wasn't always the case, because even under Josh, there was still some sort of semblance of like, at least we know what the wingers are trying to accomplish here.
But may not have liked it that much, but we're going to get a bunch of crosses in from Diego Fagundez and
right, and a Jared Stroud and whatever, right? Yeah. Which this is not the same as saying like, hey, we need Josh back or whatever. No, I think we've moved on from that, but. We're also just jumping right into a lateral move with, a coach that is not quite what everyone was expecting, from an offensive standpoint. But
exactly, it's almost like if this was the plan always, to bring in Nico Estevez and have Vasquez be the guy, they're expecting a good defensive team that doesn't score a lot of goals, but Brandon Vasquez makes up that gap and scores a bulk of the goals for us, right? Because he's that talented. They probably saw him as like, okay, if we're going to expect 40 goals a year, just picking a random number, but that's kind of what Estevez teams can give you, is like 40-ish a year. We want Brandon to score 18 of those, right? So we're going to pay him a bunch of money to be the number one guy, and then we'll figure out the rest. You know what I mean? And it's just not working out that way, because you got to get him the ball somehow. And, crosses from Beto and Dessler are nice, but when the defense can have 9 guys in the box around Brandon Vasquez, it's not very helpful.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, it's very one-dimensional. It lends itself to just being a one-dimensional attack. And again, it's just one of those things where when Brandon doesn't finish the chances that he is provided, it exacerbates that a great deal. So, yeah, man. No, those are excellent points. I think for me, the first one that I had was, quote, Owen, the likely cash cow move out over Danny. And just to look at that, we have Owen, who's still on the homegrown numbers, and 0 cap hit, mind you, to Austin's salary hit or salary numbers, but guaranteed compensation at $2,200. It's like
220,000.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 220,000. Yeah, you knew what I was going. And Danny, who's obviously getting older, he's at $500,000 at 514,000. That ceiling has definitely, I guess, how do I say, the reality has started to bump up against the ceiling a little bit more with regards to Danny. Whereas I feel like this year Owen has played lights out, and will definitely be commanding, a larger, contract renewal or a big move outside of the club, which I think it's going to be more likely that his is the one that makes the bigger, value for us.
Yeah, I think his versatility is what gives him the leg up on Danny.
Yeah.
Not to say that Danny isn't versatile, but Owen's played fullback, he's played defensive midfielder, he's played attacking midfielder, he's played winger for us. And he's done okay at all of them, if not more than okay, right?
Yeah.
And so like a team looking at long-term investment can see him and be like, great, we can kind of mold him how we want, right? We can make him into an attacking wingback. We can make him into like a inverted winger. We can make him into a solid 8,
Yeah, box-to-box 8.
He has the skill to kind of blend, depending on the level, right? He's going to have higher ceiling at different positions. But, yeah, I can see it. I think that's a good take.
Yeah. Yep. And then the second one was just a shout for Biro, who was on $275K, which I think is good business. Don't get me wrong. I think he did not have a stellar game against Seattle last week, but I think since he's arrived at Austin, he's definitely been one of the more standout, fullback performers. We saw that in his first goal, that left-footed strike late in that game last season. And I think that's a good find. So that's a shout out for Roto and, good digging up there. But
Yeah, he's definitely a contender for biggest pay raise when his time comes in a couple years if he sticks around with Austin.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
the right timeline age-wise. Great contributor. I could see him jumping up to that like Dessler level salary, doubling his numbers.
Yeah,
if he
for
sticks
sure.
around.
Yeah,
So,
Dessler at 550.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I think you and I both agree, again, kind of going back to my point earlier about that that one TAM spot that we have on the roster for Julio, that needs to go to an attacker. That needs to go.
Winger, attacking midfielder or something.
Yeah.
It is something. Shout out the North End boys again for keeping this list up to date.
100%, man. But definitely check it out. Like I said, listener, they do a really good job of just making all of this accessible for us. So definitely give them a shout. And we're gonna go ahead and take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back to preview our matches against LAFC and San Jose. So hang tight.
Sweet.
Yo, Lobar, it is summertime, my man, and we got a lot of stuff lined up for Memento this season, G. I know I'm already looking at some concerts that I'm gonna be going to, and obviously we got a hell of Austin FC games that we got to log. Why don't you talk to people about their favorite app?
Can do, dude. Memento is your sports scrapbook for Austin FC and your beta-tested music scrapbook for your music-going experience. Your games, your stats, your scores, a memento for every moment. Every memento is yours to personalize. Add your photos from Q2, tag the homies, and relive your unique experience. Each memento is packed with stats, so watch as your sports history grows as you add mementos for each game. From Austin FC, NWSL, and NCAA to the Prem, NFL, and NBA, track your fan experience from the palm of your hand.
Did you know that I've watched Austin FC 90 times, bro?
Damn. That's
How many times have you watched that? How many times have you watched that
80,
team, bro?
I think it was 87, and I just added the last one, so I think it's 88 total.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to find out how many times you've seen the team, definitely download Memento, help the pod out, and follow the link in the description or on our socials to start tracking your Memento. Thanks. And we're back. Looking ahead to Saturday's home matchup against LAFC, if there ever was a time to face Steve Cherundolo's men, it'd have to be now, right? Believe it or not, we're even on 26 points against their 30 goals for to our 15. They also had an early exit from the Club World Cup, having played Chelsea, Flamengo, and Espérance Sportive de Tunis in Group D. They sit in 7th while we're in 9th, and a win could see us jump them. So Lobar, manifester of Verde vibes, wearer of Verde tinted glasses, what say you?
Oh man, it's I wish I could be more positive right now.
Fuck.
But I feel like every loss is like 2 steps back, and I don't know, man. I think LAFC is a scary team right now. They always are. They're a great team offensively, obviously.
No Giroux, bro. What are you talking about?
No Giroux, no problem, bro. That's what it is. But I think more so, it just reminds me of the Seattle game, right? Seattle came off the Club World Cup. You already set it up this way, right? But like LAFC hasn't had a break. They're on momentum. They performed well enough, probably better than expected in their group stage. And we just look like ass in Austin. And I like the idea of this Verde Fortress, but I think the fans like it a lot more than the players like it. I think it's almost a pressure to the players to where they like hiccup too often in front of us.
Okay.
And so it just worries me. Anytime we face LAFC, it's worrisome, right? They're a great team always, no matter what their form is at the time.
Yeah.
Thus is the nature of this game, right? And so it just worries me, right? Like if we win, I'll be a little surprised. I could see kind of gritty draw coming out of this, a 1-1 kind of vibe. But it makes me a little nervous, right? This congestion that we talk about, this idea of like, oh, they have a congested schedule and they're doing Leagues Cup and they're doing Club World Cup and all these things. It's like Yeah, eventually that matters. But when you play both your games against them in the first 20 matches of the year, that doesn't really, it hasn't caught up yet. Right?
Yeah.
Like similar to Seattle, right? They might be tired in the month when they have to keep playing games, but for now they can still whoop our ass on any night,
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about LAFC, right? Eventually tired legs will catch up, but we're just not, I don't think we're there yet, right? So they're still in form. They've played more games than we have in the last couple of weeks. They're on high momentum.
It's kind of like they're running off adrenaline. It feels like, right?
Yeah,
like you kind of keep going at a certain point, and then
it's for the NBA, for the basketball fans, it's the idea of like a team that went to 7 games in their playoff series going up against a team that swept their team, and now it's like, okay, well the team that swept their matchup has been sitting for a week just chilling, waiting to see who they face, and the team that went to 7 plays a game in 2 nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they didn't get a chance to sit and rest. Their body's still on high. They don't have that like, it takes me a minute to get my muscles warm again. Like they played a game 2 nights ago. They're just on momentum, on vibes. Keep it running, So that's always a scary matchup. So that's how I feel in this scenario still. And it's also LAFC. So, yeah. Anyway, what about you?
That's fair, man. Yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic in the sense that they went up against Vancouver last week and they fell 1-0, which is better than our 5. But
yeah, true.
All that to say is they got tested against a strong Vancouver side. But I don't know, man. If we're able to roll out the same kind of lineup that we started, against Red Bull New York or Colorado away, and attack the game like we did, in those 2 instances, I think we've got a shot, because I remember Buka being a problem against their, I guess it was Colorado's left back, or right back, excuse me, and yeah, it was just one of those things where if we can start him and get him dangerous and firing early on, I feel like LA's defense isn't necessarily the same as Colorado's, mind you, but right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm telling myself, I'm being a you right now. I'm trying to manifest it, even though, God damn it, you're right. I am a little bit concerned and it's frustrating, but we'll skip ahead over to do predictions after we talk about the San Jose matchup in just a second. But let's go ahead and tee that one up, and then we'll figure out how we're feeling for predictions. So 3 days following the game at Q2 on Saturday, our boys are in Open Cup quarterfinal action at PayPal Park against Bruce Arena's San Jose Earthquakes. I've personally never felt good about this matchup. You mentioned it earlier on your preheated take that there's going to be goals abound here. And now that there's heavy stakes on the line, we got a chance at some hardware here. I don't like it, even more. So are you feeling the same? Are you feeling differently? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think initially I was like, I feel the same, right? Like these games are always chaos. Bruce Arena's team can score goals, the second highest scoring offense, only behind San Diego by 1 goal, right? So They score goals aplenty. They're not worried about it. The opposition, they're just going to score on everybody. Their defense isn't the best. It's also not the worst, right? So I hate to beat the horse here, but we've scored 15 goals on the year. So everyone's defense puts fear into my eyes because we can't score against anyone.
Right.
So, there's a few outliers who scored against San Diego. They're a good defense. That's cool and all, but I just don't trust the offense at this point, right?
Yeah.
So when I see the second highest scoring offense in the league hosting us in a game that matters with big stakes, it worries me.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to that point on the chaos because I think initially I was tilting that chaos heavily in San Jose's favor, the chaos factor.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, head to head, we just score a bunch of goals combined between these 2 teams. There's maybe 1 or 2 very lopsided blowouts, maybe just 1 in San Jose's favor. Other than that, we draw a bunch against each other. And when we do that, we usually score a bunch of goals doing it. 2-2, 4-4, that kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a different club, different coach, 'Different players, sure, but the rivalry still exists in this, storm of chaos. So we could just see that those wins back our sails, and we get some crazy goals out of it, and we see some shocking opportunities that we might not be used to. We might not see again until we play San Jose again. But makes me nervous. Regardless, they score a bunch of goals, we score none. So that's on paper never a good matchup. But I think the chaos factor will just kind of randomly decide who gets the upper edge here. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, I go back to this being MLS competition. I say that like San Jose is, another MLS side, right. But it is the Open Cup competition, and there's always those upsets and cup magic, so to speak, or Open Cup after dark kind of vibes that happen. So this strikes me as one of those Tuesday night, hold on and clench tight kind of vibes that's going to be happening. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous because, like you said, they do concede goals at the back, but we're not putting them back there. So that's almost not a point, to take away here. But
exactly.
But we'll see, man. So I guess we should just go ahead and get right into it. Then let's talk predictions. Let's start off with what you think is going to be the scoreline for LAFC, and then for San Jose.
I didn't even point this out as a factor because we hadn't talked about San Jose yet, but
rotation.
If we had to choose a game to rotate for, if either of these games, I'd like us to rotate for LAFC because we're at home field advantage, blah, blah, blah. But also I'd like us to move on in Open Cup. What we'll probably see is full starting lineups in both matches, and then we'll rotate next Saturday or something like that. So to that point, because of that uncertainty of what might happen in terms of lineup, we might see some rotation, or because we kind of rotated out of necessity this past week, we'll see full legs. Regardless, against LAFC, I think we'll be lucky with like a 1-1 draw, and I'll feel pretty whatever about it. I won't be mad because I won't be surprised if we get beaten. So 1-1 draw, I'd feel good if that means we go to San Jose and win. What about you for LAFC?
Yeah. I don't know, bro. Something tells me that I think Brad and Brandon specifically are going to be bumping off of the All-Star call-ups.
Okay.
And I think they're going to have a chance they're going to have that extra spark to really prove themselves, between now and that All-Star game at Q2. So I have a feeling that off of just extreme performances, I'm talking about 9.2 ratings from both of these players, we somehow squeak out with a 1-0 win over LAFC.
Hey, I'll take that. And it also contribute to your preheated take a while back of the 1-0 scoreline tally. So
or the DP
and that
involvement.
I just the long term.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We'll get this many 1-0 wins, right? Like,
yep.
Let's just keep manifesting that.
And to be fair, it's been 3 years now, 3 seasons since we last did the double over LAFC, right? So
True.
We have an opportunity here. They're about as low as it's ever been coming into Q2 now, so I think this is a good opportunity for it. But if you're optimistic, the cards are there for you. But if you're a pragmatist like the two of us, you already see it coming. So, and then how about San Jose, man? I feel like you got big numbers coming up.
Let's be fun. Let's get some fun here. So I think a 2-2 tie, Austin San Jose. That'll get the 4 goals that I predicted.
Okay.
I think it goes to penalties, and I think Austin wins 7-6 in penalties.
Jesus, 7-6
on the back of All-Star Brad Stuber.
I like it.
And like Dessler gets the 7 to win it for us or something. Like that's where I'm at. I'm gonna get that specific. So if that happens. Someone buy me some pizza rolls.
I feel that. I
did it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Dang, dude. Hella goals, eh? I mean, what if? Okay, hear me out. It's gonna go 1-1 draw regulation. We're not gonna take it to penalties though. Not yet. We are gonna get an extra time stunner.
Yeah.
2-1 to the good.
Hey, I'll take that.
And we move on.
I like it. I'll take it.
So we'll see,
one.
bro. But don't quote me on that. I mean, I'm ready to. Again, I think it's these two matches that are kind of like the big mountains to climb. But after that, I feel like the schedule gets so much easier, man. We're looking at New England Revolution, the Galaxy on my birthday, bro. Like, I need some birthday points for real. DC United and Dynamo, bro. Fuck them.
Might work.
I'm saying. So, yeah. Hopefully that we can start seeing some stuff come around. But till then, it is what it is. Shall we jump into some stoppage, though?
Let's run
Cleanse
through
the
it.
palate.
Yeah.
Dope. We wanted to go ahead and start off with the announcement of the signing of 25-year-old Cameroonian Swiss midfielder Nicky Boloko through 2029. If I'm not mistaken, he does have the club option there. So welcome to Austin, Nicky.
Yeah,
what are your
welcome to
thoughts?
Austin, man. It's exciting to have him. Does that point to a sale of a guy like Owen Wolf sooner than later? We got a lot of midfielders now. I think like 6 or 7 midfielders, and if we keep rocking this 4-4-2, only 2 spots to be had, right? So like, interesting. But he looks like a good player.
Yeah,
kind of like some creativity for a defensive midfielder. Really high on defensive actions in the percentiles compared to his counterparts. So I like it.
Yeah, I think more than a sale on Owen, it might be a move on from Ilie.
Right.
Who's on a shorter contract, but
true.
Anyway,
long term. Yep.
For sure. Moving on to the next point, we have Nico Estevez, like we mentioned earlier, naming Brad Stuver and Brandon Vasquez as Austin FC's All-Stars. How do you feel about this, dude?
I feel good about it. I think naming is specific because he chose them. They didn't get voted in. But he has that right to, and he should, right? You want to get your local fan base excited for the All-Star weekend. So if you're going to pick 2 players from Austin, I'm not mad at those 2. I think Stuver was an auto pick. We all knew he was going to be in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised at a guy like Dessler if he stayed healthy. But Vasquez is great. Superman. It's good for his vibes too. So
yeah,
I like it. But ideally we would have been good enough to where people have voted in. But you know what? One day.
Well, what's interesting about our fan base in particular, and just maybe this market in Austin, I feel like even if we were on an upward season and we did have ballers balling out, I don't think they would have gotten voted in.
I don't think we have enough momentum as a city.
Yeah.
Not enough people who care.
Yeah.
But the ones who do,
I mean, as a couple of dorks with a little platform, it's like we could have maybe pushed the vote a little bit more, but
man, I had to believe first.
Damn. For real. For real, dude. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We've got USMNT, the men's national team, advancing past Costa Rica in penalties off the back of a Matt Freese masterclass. Speaking of all-star keepers there. But they now are set to face Guatemala in the semifinal this coming Wednesday, July 2nd at 6 p.m.
Yeah. I mean,
Guatemala, a little bit of a Cinderella story, bro.
I was going to say, that's surprising. They beat Canada.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Canada and pens.
That's right. I saw some funny memes about that.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Freese said, penalties are my thing, and he proved it with his actions. So that's what's up. A little Pochettino redemption tour. I'm here for it. So, let's do the damn thing.
Redemption tour while he's also interviewing in other clubs, bro?
Yeah.
Question
right.
mark?
He's just making sure that the momentum is at the right peak when he gets an offer for that salary. So
Exactly. Looking over back home to a team that can win on the road. That's Austin Rise winning the Texas Conference back-to-back seasons following a strong 3-2 win over FC Dallas. Shout out Rise,
Yeah, shout out Rise. Great
strong regular season.
Yeah, that's awesome to see in their first year in the new league. Like that's big for them. So.
Yeah, and I think now we're just waiting to see where the playoff match is going to be hosted, whether that'll be here in town or if they are on the road for that playoff push. But all the best to
biggest host.
all the best to them, and their playoff push. Looking over at the women's national team, they rolled over the Republic of Ireland 4-0, which marked the program's 600th win. And they face Canada next, bro. That is...
Now, if we beat Ireland, can we still say it's called soccer now? Or is that only England? Because...
I don't think it matters, bro. I think it's... Yeah.
Well, it's called soccer now.
Right, for real. Been called soccer, bro.
Like, let's go, bro. No, it's amazing. It's what's expected under Emma. You know, like, the team keeps rolling. Nothing can stand in their way.
True.
Maybe Canada, but probably not. So...
Yeah, no. I mean, and dude, and she's rotating all 11 players, dude. There's like not a core really that's hanging in there. Like she's giving everyone exposure. So you love it, dude. You love it.
Yeah.
Looking over at MLS action, we've got Columbus Crew snapping the Philadelphia Union's 13-game unbeaten streak with a gritty 1-0 home win.
Yep.
Do you happen to catch any like highlights of this game or anything like that?
I honestly didn't. Yeah. But Anthony Precourt haters rejoice. A good team with a good coach got a good result against another good team.
Right.
How it goes. So
yeah, man.
It's what good teams do.
Yeah. Dang, bro, I'm punching air right now, dude, because I'm just thinking about if we had a coach the caliber of Wilfred Nancy, dude, it's game over for everyone. Yeah. But
true. Most teams could agree with that. Most fan bases would agree with that statement.
Oddly enough, not oddly enough, but this was my first time seeing Kevin Sullivan in action for Philly. And okay, he's all right, I guess. 14-year-old, it's whatever. But, like, I was expecting this dude to be the next Freddie Adu, I guess. I don't know.
What did Freddie Adu end up doing,
hey, look, man, I'm pretty sure I still have the Campbell soup with the Freddie stuff, but anyway, looking over at Club World Cup action, because we have a couple of our league correspondent members. We have J League's Urara Red Diamonds that were knocked out of the group stage, and we have in Serie A Inter Milan getting knocked out by Fluminense. Shout out Thiago Silva. In the round of 16, and then Juventus also losing 1-0 to Real Madrid.
Yeah, little Club World Cup.
Crazy, man. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Like, we might talk about this more with a little Chelsea action, but what are your thoughts on Chelsea's path forward? We have the easiest matchup, I think, on paper. Well, yeah, compared to Real Madrid and PSG and Bayern.
Sure. Well, I mean, looking at the fact that we were able to skip Bayern, right, by ending second in our group, and then seeing Flamengo, who won our group, getting annihilated by Bayern. I mean, that's just Maresca masterclass right there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we roll over and move on to the next matchup, which is against Palmeiras, which is who we beat for our Club World Cup in 2021. So I'm excited to get to see Esteval, essentially have his little performance against Chelsea, because he'll get to play.
That's cool. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, man. He's been fun to watch. So
it'll be fun to see him chop it up with the boys after.
Exactly. You already know it's going to happen, dude.
And be like, I can go now. Club World Cup's over for us. It's time. Right. Put me in, coach.
Basically, man. Basically.
Yeah.
And speaking of next season and all that good stuff, I think this is a really cool point that you brought in here. Substituted players are set to be interviewed during the Premier League games next season. I think this is part of like a whole package of rules and different experiments that we're going to start seeing in terms of broadcast access and things like this. So it's wild, man. What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be badass to see Cole Palmer come off after a hat trick in the 68th minute and just say the dumbest shit of all time.
Right.
I can't wait for it. When their brain's on the most like lizard mode of all possible.
Yeah.
Just pure instinct on the football field, and then all of a sudden they have to come on like, what?
Right.
It's gonna be very fun to see, and there's probably gonna be a lot of good bloopers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Imagine last year's Noni Madueke game.
Right.
At was it Wolves?
Wolves.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at Wolves. Okay, cool. Yeah, where he's talking mad shit on the burner, or he was trying to.
Right.
On the main. goes that weekend, puts up a brace or whatever it was, and then comes off the field and just be like, "Yo, this city sucks,"
Right.
on the interview, and then walks off. Like,
Oh my
that's gonna
God.
be so fun, dude. I can't wait.
I think for me, it really will kind of, to your point, show who has the media training and who does not, right?
Yes.
Because I'm looking at
Yeah.
this team full of youngsters in Chelsea, and it's just
Yeah.
like, what are they doing, bro? You
And
know?
you get like Caicedo and Tosin that come off, and they're like the most respectful, sweet guys of all time.
Yeah.
And then like Cole and
Yeah,
Cuckoo come off
Nani.
and say the craziest shit ever.
Yeah. That's funny,
Good
man.
times.
That's funny. And then last but not least, as always, ending it with Chelsea. They are advancing to the quarterfinal, as we mentioned, in the Club World Cup after beating Benfica 4-1.
Yeah.
Bro, they should have just called it at the 1-0,
For real.
storm.
On the
storm
2 hour break.
Yeah.
That shit's
Weather
crazy.
delay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 hour weather delay in like the 82nd minute or some
Yeah.
shit. We come back on a few minutes later, they get a penalty and tie it up.
Yeah.
And then the stoppage time merchants come out, put on 3. Or sorry, the extra time merchants put on 3 in extra time. And we win it. So
Yeah.
interesting. A lot of flack has come from international soccer, more so like English soccer and UEFA soccer, on FIFA for having the US host it where they have and when they have. Because there's been a lot of weather problems with storms, with heat, with all these things.
Yeah.
And people are talking just very interesting narratives looking ahead to the multiple big competitions we're hosting over the next 3 to 4 years. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's the world's game, brother. Right?
True.
You gotta. We did the experiment in Russia. We did the experiment in Qatar. We did the experiment,
Mhm.
all other places, and yeah, I mean, so it gets a little bit hot over here, but
Yeah,
it is what it is, man. All I know is Chelsea's going to win the whole thing, so
Damn right.
that's what we do. Anyway, let's go ahead and close it out. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, as always, friends, we appreciate y'all kicking it with us on this week's episode of the Verdependent podcast. I'm Paul Fletes. You can find me at Paul and UFC.
And I'm Logan Bartlett. You can find me at Lobar VHLM.
And as always, keep the chatter going online by following at the Verdependent on socials. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And that is an episode. Peace.
Peace. Oh, why are you screaming at me?
Oh my God.